everybody, Adam the Serial Photog back with you in another video. And this video is going to be the first part of a multi-part series in which I show you the basics of Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm going to be calling it my Introduction to Premiere Pro series. Super creative title, right? So yeah, this is going to be the first part, and today in this video all we're really going to do is introduce this series and take a quick look at the layout of the program. So Premiere Pro is Adobe's professional grade video editing software. It is also what I use to edit all of my videos, and it's the sort of program that you can get really deep and really advanced in. But in this series we're just going to be covering the basics. But by the time we're done with this series, you will have all the basic knowledge needed to do some pretty decent edits. So with that being said, let's get started. And right here is what you will see when you first open up Premiere Pro. This is the start screen, and from here you can view your recent projects. Like right here I have an Untitled project, but my list is normally a lot longer. I just reinstalled everything on my computer, so that's why it's so short. But it would, if I clicked on this, it would quickly jump to that project. You can also open a project and create a new project, which is what we want to do. So let's hit the New Project button, and that's going to open up this Create New Project wizard. And there are really only three things I want to look at here for our introductory purposes. At this stage, most of this can be ignored. So number one is the name. You want to name your projects, give them a nice descriptive name of what it is. For this one, I'm just going to call it something like Introduction, something like that. And location, which is where you'll save your project. So I recommend creating a folder for each of your video projects. I'm just going to create one here called Introduction, and I'll select that folder, and that's where Premiere Pro will save all my project files. And then the other thing I want to look at here is this renderer. Now by default, if you have a compatible graphics card, it's going to have this selected, the Mercury Playback Engine GPU Acceleration. And if you're not a computer nerd like me, you may not know what that means. But basically this means that Adobe will attempt to use your graphics card to render some of the effects and things in your project, which is meant to take some of the load off of your CPU. Now that sounds all well and good, but in my experience this causes a lot of problems. It tends to cause Premiere Pro to lock up on me and can even crash my NVIDIA drivers. And the only way I found to recover from that on Windows is to reboot the system. I also took a course in college on video editing, and the professor mentioned similar issues, and those were on state-of-the-art purpose-built machines for video editing. So if you want to try that, try it at your own risk, but I recommend going to this software only, which just means instead of using the GPU, it's going to use your CPU. I've had zero issues with choosing this setting. But that's all we're going to look at. Things like scratch disks and ingest settings and all that are some more advanced topics. So with that, we'll just hit OK. And Adobe Premiere is going to go ahead and create our new project. And this is the view we'll get. This is the default view of Premiere Pro. And the only other thing we're going to do in this video is just take a quick little tour of this view. So Premiere Pro is divided into basically 7 main sections. And we're going to start right here in this upper left hand section here. It's called the source editor, or the source view. And what this is where you're going to preview all of the clips you import into your project. It's also where you can select just a portion of a clip to put in your project, and it's actually where the vast majority of your editing will occur, believe it or not. Moving over to the right, we have the program view. And what this is another place to view clips, but instead of viewing individual clips, what this is going to do is allow you to view your entire project as you have it assembled on your timeline. So this allows you to preview what your final video is going to look like. Next up, we've got the project browser, and this is where you're going to import and organize all of your media. All of that happens right here. It's also an easy way to get to things like your effects library and list of markers and that sort of thing, but that's for future videos. Over here, we have the timeline. This is where you're going to actually assemble all your media together into your video and apply all of your effects and everything, and it is the timeline that your program view previews. Next to timeline is the toolbar, and this just gives you access to some of the most common basic editing tools for the timeline, which we will be discussing these in future videos. And to the right of the timeline we have an audio monitor, which, as you might guess, allows you to monitor your audio levels, and it will also give you a visual representation of whether or not you've clipped any of your audio or not. This is a very important tool for really creating a nice polished video, and we will be discussing that quite a bit further down the road in the series, but we will get to it. And then the final section I'm going to talk about is up here, and this is just sort of some tabs. It's a Workspace Switcher, and it allows you to switch between workspaces. Well, what's a workspace? Well, to explain that, this view right here is a workspace. It is the editing workspace. As you can see, there are others, for example, color or audio. And these just change the layout of things to better suit them for certain tasks. Like the color one is suited more towards color grading. Audio is suited more towards, finalizing your audio. You can even create your own workspaces. But for the most part, we're going to be right here in this editing. This is the one I use the most, followed probably by color, and every once in a while I'll go into the audio one. But for the most part, I just do everything in the editing workspace, but some people are different. And I'll also mention that anything within any workspace can be fully customized. We're not going to go over that here, and I'm going to leave it at default just so we have a nice baseline for everybody to go off of in the series. And the default's also what I use, so yeah, that's pretty much a pretty basic tour. I know that a lot of this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense yet as to exactly what all these are for if you're brand new to this program, but they will as we go further into things. So as we start to jump into editing in the program, it'll become more clear what each of these sections are. For example, the next part in this series will be all about the project browser. And then after that, it's all about the timeline, so on and so forth. So as we move on, you will get a much better feel for what these are. This was just meant to be a quick overview. Hopefully you found it helpful. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, etc., please do leave them in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to respond to them. I'll also point out that for each section of this series, there will be a blog post full of text version of everything in this video along with screenshots, so do check the description to check that out if you're interested. With that, I'll thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.